Oh god. Oh, I need coffee. Oh god. Anyways, that's it's gloomy right now, so like it's making me feel really tired. But today we're not talking about the weather. I always feel like we talk about the weather in most of my videos. But I actually let me pull up my notes app. I recently got a really cool camera that I've been trying to like how do I put it? I've been trying to get this camera. I tried to get it when it was pre-order. I was trying to get it when it was in retailers, but like the known issue with this camera is that the supply is very minimum. They release them in certain quantities. Also with that, retailers or even resellers want to sell this for almost $500 to $1,000 more than what it retails. So it's kind of annoying, but I was able to find one. I was able to find one like fairly priced. I only paid like $300 more than what it retails. But other than that, it's a really fantastic camera. If you haven't guessed it yet, that is the Fujifilm X100VI. I guess I could just throw a B-roll into this. Hey, I forgot to make the B-roll video for the camera, just because the last 2 days or 3 days after I filmed this original video, I was just slammed with a lot of stuff, and I was gonna do it today, but I had some technical difficulties with my Wi-Fi that caused me to like be pretty much preoccupied for about 3 hours. Anyways, yeah, sorry. Here's the camera, so you can just kind of see it from there. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. So, oh well. Anyways, on with the video. So yeah, I finally was able to get a Fujifilm X100VI. I'm super excited about it. I actually got it right at the good time because I think a week and a half later, I went to Scotland, Ireland. So I was able to play around with it when I was there, when I was in Edinburgh, Dublin, even going to the Highlands, even going to the west side of Ireland. So I would say like I got a good amount of experience, and I guess that's like a subtle foreshadowing what this really video is about. It's about a user experience. I didn't want to make a review or like a specs review of this camera because there are already a bunch of videos out there like that. So I want to kind of just look more at like, hey, this is what I experienced. This is what I've noticed about this camera, because I think there's not a lot of videos like that. Well, there are, but like when you do look up this camera, you see a lot of specs, a lot of first impressions or reviews. So I didn't really want to add that to the mix. I really wanted to focus on what I experienced with it, how I enjoyed it, and a few things that kind of made me go like a little hesitant of buying it, or also a little bit of a hesitance of kind of using it. Now I did write a few things on my phone because I was like, I filmed this video, like original one, like last night, but I didn't like the way it came out. So I rewrote kind of my bullet points. So if you see me looking at my phone multiple times, it's not because I'm trying to wait for my DoorDash order, but I'm just kidding. I don't have a DoorDash order, but I'm reviewing my notes. I do want to start off the beginning with this video of kind of going over the 3 things that made me kind of, I said hesitant, but it really made me feel like these are the few challenges I faced while I got the camera. But in the end, these 3 also, I think maybe actually 2 of them actually made me feel more inclined on using it because it kind of gave the camera its own uniqueness, its own kind of style, I guess you would say. So let's just kind of just jump right into that because I feel like I'm rambling on. The 3 things that kind of made me feel like it was a challenge was that this is my first Fujifilm camera. I've never owned any other camera before. I've not even a film camera. So getting an understanding of how the menu system works as well as the button layout was kind of confusing. I know I can change a few of the button layouts based off my preference or how I have it on my Sony 7R5, but I thought to myself, hey, maybe let's not change it and just keep it as is, because that way I have more of a, I guess you'd say, more experience or more get adaptable, or is that a word? Adaptable? Be more adapt to the Fujifilm system, especially the menu system, because the menu system is completely different from a Sony system. And like I said, this is my first Fujifilm camera, or Fujifilm digital camera. So like I said, it was really brand new to me. The other one is the film simulations. Now that is most people's, I guess you would say, like their first initial thought of why they want to buy it. For me, it was a challenge, because I guess the best way to say it, and I don't think a lot of people talk about this, but Fujifilm has like film stock, or well, they technically are film stock. They have film simulations built into the camera. They have, I think it's like 13 or 12 of them. So you can select those in the camera, shoot it on that profile. But what people don't talk about is the film recipes. Because I know people are like, oh, I can't find the film stock that looks like Portra or looks like Ektachrome or looks like Cinestill. That I feel like would draw people off from it. And I think that's why I've seen some people sell it, because they didn't know that there are more steps into building those film recipes. I'll dive into that later, because that is one of the features that maybe made me keep this camera and loving it even more. So like I said, that's one of the things that kind of dips in being a positive thing. Fixed lens. Now I'm so used to having interchangeable lenses. I'm so used to going from a 35 to an 80 mil or 85 mil, or going to a 24 to 70, going to a 70 to 200. So going to a fixed lens system is kind of new to me. I know you can crop down into different focal lengths, but like I said, I'm so used to switching. So having a fixed lens would really kind of put me out of my comfort zone, and it did make me hesitant to shoot, because it's like I have to rewire my brain, and I'll dive more into that later, because it's also one of the things that made me really enjoy having this camera, especially when I was traveling around with it. And I know I said there was 3 things I wanted to list, but there was one thing, and this is very more my personal problem. It is a very small camera. I do suffer from big hand syndrome, so like the first initial thought, or first initial handle of this camera, I really thought for a second, I'm like, this camera can easily fall out of my hand. There are accessories you can buy. You can buy like extensions, like this small rig, extension handle, as well as the thumb grip in the back. So I did buy those. It has made it easier for me to hold on and kind of use the camera. But like I said, that's also actually dips into a positive, and I guess I can start off with that, is that being able to accessorize this camera is kind of fun, because then you can accessorize to your sense of style, I guess, how you make it be an attachment to who you are as a person. So that's a negative that is also a positive, which I feel like is the perfect transition in going to the positives. Okay, this is probably my favorite part of this thing, because this is where I really tell you how much I love this camera, because there's so many things about it that makes it phenomenal, makes it very unique. We can start off with size and style. I know I talked about the size being a con, but also with the size being a pro, this size makes it a perfect everyday camera. I mean, I've been looking for something that can be an everyday camera. I had other options, but I think this one kind of suits me the best, and I'll dive into a little bit more why. But the size enough it's pretty big enough for me to hold it and feel like a real camera, but it's also small enough that I can put it in a bag and not have to worry about taking it apart if I have to remove the lens, because the lens is too huge. But like I said, it's perfect. The style itself is amazing. As someone who loves shooting off of film, it looks like a film camera, and it has a rangefinder format, which I really admire, because I do shoot with the Leica M6. That is a rangefinder, so it has that kind of sense of style with it, sense of formatting. It is not a rangefinder viewfinder, I will say that right from the start, but it feels like it. When I look through the viewfinder, I have a simple glass viewfinder, but I can also go through digital, but it has that kind of feel to it. And like I said, that's kind of one of the things that made me be attracted to it, because of its size and style, and why I think it's kind of the perfect everyday camera. But there's more reasons to it, and like I said, I have notes, and I will dive into it more. So if we kind of jump back into the film simulations, I'm also reading my notes, sorry. Although you can watch a bunch of videos of the review and specs, people don't dive into the film recipes, and that separates, I guess you would say, from film simulations to the film recipes. They're all the same, but they're 2 different things. So when you go into your Fujifilm camera, you already have these film simulations, that are different types of film stocks. But then film recipes are things that people will post, and they actually upload to this app called Fuji X Weekly app. You can get on your smartphone. It has not only just saying hey, here is the recipe, or not the recipe, the film simulation you use, whether it's standard, Chrome or whatever film simulator you use. And then within the camera, you can then dive into certain settings like changing the highlights, the saturations, changing the clarity, changing the grain, changing the dynamic range percentage. So there's a lot that you can do in creating these film recipes. And that was one of the pluses that made me really enjoy this camera. I love shooting film. That's given. That's totally no mystery as it is. But I also love shooting digital and trying to find something that has the mix of both. And I'm not saying this camera can develop 100% accurate true tones of a Portra or a Kodak Gold, but it comes remotely close enough for me to be like, I can easily be like, this was shot on a Leica M6, but I wouldn't do that because I just feel like that's false advertisement. But this camera has that capabilities of not only just creating a sharp image, but creating an image that has a characteristic because of these film recipes that you embed it into the camera. And it's so funny. So I shoot RAW. I've been shooting JPEG this entire time with this camera because that's how you get that film recipe embedded in. This is a little side note of a positive that made me love this camera. Shooting JPEGs means smaller images, or smaller file sizes means more room on my computer, more room on my external drive. So that's a weird transition, but it's just nice. But anyways, back to film simulations. I love having something that I can create a unique image, not having to go into Lightroom and do that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but having that middleman removed where you can take a photo of a moment, send it to your phone and upload it on Instagram or Threads or wherever you're posting is so nice. It's so fun because I love editing, but sometimes after a long day, I don't want to edit. Or sometimes I capture a photo that I really love, and if I'm with friends and family and I want to post it, I gotta send it from my camera to my phone, then to Lightroom, and then from Lightroom, export it, and then from there to go to Instagram. At that point, I start to just dread that process, even though some people love that process and they die for that process. Sometimes for me, I'm just like, I wish I didn't have to do that process all the time. So the film simulations had just, in a way, created a method to apply a preset, and then you can just upload to Instagram, but it's all in camera. So I talked about fixed lens. Like I said, I'm so used to a system where I can switch lenses, whether, like I said, a 35 to an 85, 24 to 70 to 7200, etc. So going from that to now a fixed lens, although it's not my first time of using a fixed lens, but being kind of, I would say, just strictly set to one focal length, you do find yourself having the challenge of trying to take a photo, but it also allowed me to have a creativity moment where I'm gonna be like, okay, so here's the shot of this item. How am I going to change it? So it allowed me to re-visualize how the shot's gonna be. And I know that on this camera, you can crop down on the sensor, but I personally don't wanna do that because as you crop down on the sensor, you do lose resolution. Although argumentatively, you're just posting on social media, you're not going to be blowing up onto a big billboard, so you don't really have to worry about that resolution. However, for me, I want the full 40 megapixels, so I know I wouldn't want to be doing that all the time. So maybe for me, it's how am I going to take this image and how I'm going to crop it down so that way I can keep the resolution, but also just how do I change the perspective of this image? How do I make it I guess the best way to say is if I'm shooting a subject or something like that that's very far away, obviously I could get closer and get it to be hey, this is what the subject I'm photographing. But then now allowed me to think creatively of how do I now use my foreground to isolate this one person or isolate this one thing. So it allowed me to just finally be fully creative. I'm not saying I'm not creative with my main work camera, but it allowed me to actually step out of my comfort zone and see hey, I'm stuck with a 23 millimeter, which is a 35 millimeter full frame equivalent. It allowed me to step out of that and be how do I make this shot look really, really cool? There are many shots I took in Scotland and Ireland that in the end result, they're kind of almost breathtaking. I took shots of some Highland coups of, both up close, but also a very, wider shot of when I was in Ireland at the Guinness brew house or at the Sky Deck of taking shots of the pints of Guinness being poured. It just really allowed me to kind of just change the way I look at things, and it also allowed me to love street photography even more, because I'm not the best, but being able to now be like, okay, like let me get in this mindset of just capturing just purely candid moments. I realized that there's something about travel, street photography, candid moments that I really, really admire. I do have certain friends and some photographers I follow and kind of look up to that do that kind of style. And it like, I can see how they get that enjoyment, because this camera kind of, I guess you would say, gave me that crave almost. So that's kind of, like I said, it's one of the things that's just made kind of taking photos more fun now. Now, I want to kind of dive back into size. I do realize that sometimes I do shy away when I'm in like certain moments or around friends and family. And having this camera kind of be the camera that not replaces, I don't want to use that word, but be a substitute for capturing candid moments when I'm with friends and family, because there is a difference of shoving like my 7R5 with a 24-70 attached to it into people's faces. It can be intimidating, but having something this small and just be in the background taking like little candid moments is really nice. That I want to add that into my conversation about size, because this feels so discreet. This feels so nonchalant compared to my 7R5, which can be intimidating. And some people who maybe camera shy don't want that in their face. So like I said, if you're looking for something to capture intimate moments, this could be a camera for you. I loved it. I used it for capturing intimate moments when I was with friends, and as well as like when I was, running around Edinburgh or Scotland or Dublin, sorry. So that's just one thing I wanted to add on. So it's nothing super entirely new. Overall, this camera is just extremely fun. It is actually now my fun camera. It is actually now my everyday camera, because like I said, I've been looking for an everyday camera that not only just takes really good photos, but also can bring a certain uniqueness to the images I take. I know there are other options out there. There's, the Leica Q43. My only issue with that is that that's an 8K camera, and I'd be afraid of dropping it or someone stealing it, because I'm then out of 8K. Also, who has 8K to spend willy-nilly? And the other ones are like something like maybe RX100 Mark 7. I think they don't sell those anymore. You can find them, but they are marked up at price because they are very wanted and liked. Then there's the RX1R Mark II or Mark 1. Those are also very expensive cameras. They're about $3,000, but not a lot of people carry them or sell them. In fact, actually, I don't think a lot of retailers carry them anymore, so you have to find them at like secondhand shops. But like I said, that's also another good example, because the R1R Mark II is a fixed lens with a viewfinder and a built-in flash, which is really cool. Then you have like the Ricoh GFX3s. There's too many names, to be honest, but it's another camera example that is hard to get. It is, when they do get them, they're also upsell. So like resellers are selling them for almost like $500 to $1,000 than what they are retailed. So these everyday cameras have become challenging again. I was fortunate enough to get one, but like I said, like there was something I wanted that gave characteristics that had uniqueness to it. Those cameras do great, but a lot of those cameras are a take and then do a Lightroom post process. For me, when I think of everyday camera, I want something that I can take a photo of, send it to my phone, and then post it without having to do a post process moment. So like I said, the Fujifilm with its film simulations and also its amazing lens that's built into it, I was able to capture such great images that I love. And like I said, this is going to be my new everyday camera. I'm going to take it with me everywhere I go, where I'm hanging out with friends, if I'm with family, if I'm traveling, or even when I'm just walking around the street. Like this is going to be like camera that I pull out and take a lot of photos with, because it is like, when you compare the two, I should have attached a lens to this, but when you compare these two, well, you can kind of see that this one looks a little bit more comfortable and more sleek versus something like this with a lens attached to it. It could be kind of intimidating, but that to me is just kind of important. But like I said, this camera has been fun to shoot with. I enjoyed shooting with it. I can't wait to shoot with it even more. And I think it also maybe introduced me to the Fujifilm System, because like I said, I've never owned one. I've used some, but I've never really personally owned one where I can change the settings and then run around and get nitty gritty with it. And like I said, this is all brand new to me because I'm so used to one system. I really should start diving into more systems, even though it's the same argument. I've used them before, but I've never really owned them. So maybe down the road, you'll see me using a Nikon ZF or a Canon R50. I don't know. Actually, Canon just released a new, like, it's V10, V1. I don't know. It's a new small camera that's really good for vlogging. Maybe I'll try to get my hands on it and see how it works, but who knows. But anyways, like I said, this camera, overall fun. If you're looking about getting it, I know right now it is a hard time. Maybe you can try to negotiate with them to lower the price. I have seen them the price get lower. I've seen them originally go for almost 3K to 25K. 3K to 2,500, sorry, to now going down to 18 and 17. So people are now starting to get rid of them because they realize that nobody's gonna buy them at that price. So definitely do keep an eye on them. B&H does offer an email notifying me so you can get notifications of the camera being restocked, but there's so many people waiting for it, so it's gonna be a while. But like I said, there are so many out there. I feel like people bought them and now realizing they don't want it because they don't need it or they realize it's not for them. If you're looking to get one, I say bite the bullet, get it, because this camera really made just taking photos fun. Just talking about it now, I'm going to a wedding tomorrow and I'm going to bring it with me, and I'm excited just to capture it because we're going to be on Catalina Island, and I really just I can't wait to capture photos. If I happen to edit this video and post it after the wedding, maybe I'll do some like a slideshow of some of the images, or maybe right now, who knows, I don't know, of capturing of the wedding I was at. So I keep rambling on. I do want to wrap up this video. Overall, it's a good camera. That's all the best I could say. There's going to be some biasness on it where people say it's a really shitty camera. Don't buy it. There are better options. Could be entirely true. However, for me, from my experience, and for someone who loves film and who loves the style of film cameras, like the format as well as the design, this camera itself, it fits the criteria for me. And I really can't wait to shoot more on this. I'm gonna take it everywhere. Like, I'm gonna take my main cameras I normally take, but I'm gonna take this one all the time with me. So I'm super excited for it. Maybe I'll do a video about creating film recipes on here because I had to dive through many videos to find something that kind of makes sense. And now I feel like I can teach you people. So anyways, hopefully this video was kind of helpful if you're thinking about buying it. If you're kind of wondering what other options there are, unfortunately, the issue about this camera is with its supply issue, as well as people buying it and then resell it. The same issues for the XM5. It's the same problem they're having, as well as the GFX 100RF. Same issue. They stopped manufacturing on them. I think there's more reasons to it why, but it's kind of became such a popular camera that they can't keep up with the demand. So like I said, those are other options, but if you can't find them because they are kind of hard to get, you can probably find this somewhere on Facebook Marketplace or on eBay or something like that. But if you really like this video, like and subscribe. Comment down if you actually have this and you enjoy it, or comment if you hate it because I want to know why. But other than that, I can't wait to shoot with this. And so with that being said, I'm gonna end this video and probably run amok and take photos on this. So yeah, cool. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you later.